time testing
of you get to attack with Regidrago V-Star first, potentially. However, over on Yoshiyuki's side, he is rocking that Iron Leaf EX, which will allow him to potentially be aggressive against really very impactful. And I do want to highlight both players prized an Ogre Pony X, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but they are only playing 3 copies each this time around, which means they only have 2 available, which could lead to, oh, pardon me, Yoshiyuki is playing 4 copies. So less impactful for him, a little bit more important for Isaiah. As we head to the table, let's get this match going, Chip.
Here we go, kicking things off. Isaiah Bradner will immediately play that Earthen Vessel, discarding a card from the hand in order to search the deck for 2 energy cards, putting them into his hand. Immediately discarding Canceling Cologne, a nice tech card for the meta of this event, but not super useful in this mirror match. Immediately, Isaiah is going to be checking his prize cards. This is kind of his standard thing that we've seen him do, bringing all the Pokemon to the front, make sure he gets a quick check, an adequate shuffle afterwards, make sure that there is everything taken care of, and yeah, he'll make sure he knows exactly what he has access to. Prize checking, such an important skill at the top level of the Pokemon TCG.
You can't potentially make any sort of mistake, especially at the World Championship. So knowing exactly which resources you can count on throughout the game so that you don't make plays based on resources that you don't actually have access to is so clutch. Now, this Mew EX start is what we were talking about, right? There's no chance to pick that up, to remove that from play. So it is going to be key to have that that consideration for Yoshiyuki. Maybe he could get those 2 prizes early on and surprise Isaiah. However, you have to imagine Isaiah was watching that Japanese tournament and is aware of the potential threat of the Iron Leaves and might do something about it.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Normally, it would be great to retreat immediately into the Cleffa, but like we pointed out, it is prized. And honestly, there's not really a great option for a 1-prize Pokemon to retreat into for Isaiah. He could retreat into the Kyurem, I guess, but that's not really something you want to put into play, taking up a bench spot, because if your opponent doesn't go for the Iron Leaves and just sticks it active, that could be trouble for you. Isaiah will land on grabbing 1 Fire Energy and 1 Grass Energy off of this Earthen Vessel. We'll see what else the hand has in store. Does he get an attachment to a Regidrago V? Does he get a couple of energies in play through the Teal Mask, Ogerpon, Teal Dance? I do see that Ogerpon right away.
I swear that note-taking notebook keeps getting bigger and bigger for Isaiah. Usually he has a piece of paper, and now he has a huge notebook right there.
We will see Teal Dance bringing one energy down to that Ogerpon and attaching for turn. And an interesting card inclusion here for Isaiah is that Pokestop. Not something we see too often from Regidrago. What do you think of that, Pablo?
I mean, it has a lot of synergy with you want your Pokemon in the discard pile. We just saw that Dragapult hit. You also play a lot of very powerful item cards that you want to access. Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Earthen Vessel, Energy Switch. So it's a very, very powerful inclusion, very synergetic, but seems like Isaiah not finding that Nest Ball or Ultra Ball to establish a Regidrago V in the beginning. So we could see some early aggression with Ogerpon, which is definitely not part of the plan here.
Yeah, and he's going to just attach this Fire Energy to the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. Now, that doesn't really benefit Teal Mask Ogerpon. Its attack does cost 3 Grass Energy, but now he has the option to Energy Switch that Fire Energy off in the next turn in order to, potentially make an attacker next turn or in a future turn. Now, over to Yoshiyuki. Let's see how he kicks things off. That Regidrago V start is not too bad, especially when your opponent did not even get a Regidrago down on their side. Definitely a slower start for Isaiah. And Yoshiyuki taking a page out of Isaiah's book, checking his prize cards in a similar fashion.
I think that hand was a little underwhelming for Yoshiyuki, so he's going to be a little disappointed to see that the Squawkabilly is indeed prized. Otherwise, it would have been perfect to just Nest Ball for that and get going. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell if there was a supporter in there or not, Chip, but that could be a bad sign for Yoshiyuki to start us off. Does have a Regidrago, however, which is more than Isaiah can say at this point in time.
Also, something to note from Yoshiyuki here, whenever you're making a deck list for a tournament, sometimes you have to make some aggressive cuts into your consistency in order to add some techs that you may want to play. For example, the Iron Leaves that Yoshiyuki is choosing to play. One of the aggressive cuts Yoshi has made here is to play only 3 copies of Earthen Vessel, usually an extremely important card in this deck, and 2 of them are prized this game, Pablo.
That could definitely affect his possibilities to get the right energy at the right time, draw enough energies, and even discard the right attacker, Chip. So what you are pointing out is actually very essential. Clearly, he's done well so far with this choice. However, it is a corner that he caught that could end up, when the margins are getting lower and lower, could end up being a difference, especially with this awkward pricing that he ends up finding himself with.
Teal Dance from Yoshiyuki drawing 1 card. It is that Iron Leaves EX, but like you said, doesn't look like there's too much going on. It's probably just going to have to be a research. Going for the Pokestop first. There's the Prime Catcher. Boss's Orders goes down, and a Regidrago V. If you're going to play a research, I think drawing Prime Catcher is not one you would like to see.
No, there are supporters, as you mentioned, but yeah. I mean, you'd have to rely on so many energy switches to get these 2 prizes. It might be worth just going for the potential Iron Leaves aggression. We do see the Pheasantipity X hit the board. Very key card to recover from any potential Ionos from your opponent.
It could be a situation as well Yoshiyuki is considering maybe it's not worth going for the prize cards because his opponent did not get down a Drago last turn, and I think that's what he's going to land on. Now, Isaiah did attach the Fire Energy, which maybe could set off some alarm bells. Is there going to be some crazy Thornton play from the opponent, right? But Isaiah is not playing with Thornton. Interesting, though, Yoshiyuki is packing that tech supporter.
Now, let's see what else Yoshiyuki can do here. As you mentioned, he needs to be careful with the potential aggression from Myriad Leaf Shower by Ogerpon.
Attaches the energy to the active.
I think he transferred it with Energy Switch, and then the energy was to the Teal Mask on the bench, I think. So he's playing a little bit careful, right, in terms of not putting too many energies on the active so that it's not susceptible to a potential knockout immediately. You have an advantage, right? You have a Regidrago, your opponent doesn't. I mean, Yoshiyuki might not know that he's up against a Regidrago deck at this point.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty safe to assume.
It's safe to assume.
With the Fire Energy in play. But and also, like, in day 2, that's a big part of these events is players kind of scouting out, knowing what the other good players are on. These players definitely respect one another, I would say, so probably are aware of at least of what the other is playing. Now, Isaiah will utilize that Pokestop, bump it right away with the Temple of Sinnoh, and it's just going for an Iono. 6 pretty important cards here for Mr. Bradner. Is he able to find a Regidrago V finally?
Let's see what he ends up drawing. Also needs to find energies to potentially be aggressive, but dedicating 4 energies to a single Ogerpon without actually achieving a knockout could be a little problematic as well. Now, I can't tell what he has drawn. I think I do see a Nest Ball. I see Earthen Vessel. I see Energy Switch. I see a Regidrago. So actually pretty good cards overall. Not the easiest discard for the Earthen Vessel. Very powerful cards in hand. I think it's going to be the Ultra Ball. But yeah, I mean, we might get to see a couple extra cards from Restart. But it does feel like Isaiah had an advantage going first, but it completely went away when he wasn't able to get a Regidrago on the bench.
Now, it is technically possible for Isaiah to reach for a knockout on the Regidrago V. It would require a pretty hefty investment. I think, a couple energy switch most likely. He does have the extra fire energy on this Teal Mask Ogerpon that could allow for that. It would probably be an overextension, I would say, to go for that play. He's probably going to be thinking a little bit more long game.
I mean, setting up the 2-hit KO could be wise,
Yeah,
right?
just get a hit in.
Yeah, just get a hit in, get some damage. I believe it would be 180 damage with the energy on the Regidrago Ogerpon, needing 4 total energy because he does need the 3 specific grass, right? That fire adds to the damage, but doesn't help pay for the attack cost. Now, is that worth it? Dedicating your only Ogerpon and all 4 energies that you have access to just to do some damage?
Yeah, that's the question Isaiah may be thinking through here at this point. This is the type of situation where I think he would love to get that Cleffa in play, be that one prize option, force your opponent to knock that out. And if they don't knock it out, you get to just draw some cards. But, of course, we know it is in the prize cards. Off this Nest Ball here, he's actually debating maybe the Hawlucha. He could do the same thing. Doesn't get the benefit of drawing cards with Grasping Draw, but could bring down the Hawlucha. And I think that is what he's chosen to do.
Likely a defensive play, of course, doesn't get the benefit of the flying entry ability as it is not getting into play from the hand. But the important thing right now for Isaiah is to try to prevent Yoshiyuki from taking 2 prize cards this upcoming turn. In this 2-2-2 prize trade-off, whoever gets the first 2 will have a big advantage, and Isaiah, not able to do it this turn, needs to play a little defensively in that regard, as we see the setup of multiple Regidrago just to be extra safe in case one of them does get ghosted.
And he does have a pretty solid follow-up, it looks like, for the next turn. Earthen Vessel plus a research. He's going to be able to dig for that Regidrago V-Star, sending up the Hawlucha and the pass. Now the question here, does Yoshiyuki take the bait? If you find yourself in Yoshiyuki's spot, I have to imagine you're not really prioritizing knocking out this Hawlucha.
Certainly not. There's much better targets on the bench, right? I think Yoshiyuki has a very powerful hand, is already holding the bots, is already holding the Regidrago V-Star. We know there's an energy switch in the discard pile, so Yoshiyuki has the attack guaranteed. Of course, you would love to pull off the attack without using Legacy Star. That's usually a big determining factor, and whether you win or lose is like how early you have to use your Legacy Star at this point. But does have access to boss orders, can chase down probably that Mew EX to start off. Everything else you knock out is impactful, but knocking out the Ogerpon X would require you to use Giratina, as we see the Legacy Star get immediately used.
Yeah, and really not too many bad discards, I would say, for Yoshiyuki. A couple energy, but you can always bring those back with Superior Energy Retrieval later. The energy switch going down is probably not ideal, but of course can be grabbed back thanks to that Legacy Star V-Star power, and it will be the Prime Catcher and a different energy switch brought back immediately. Prime Catcher, of course, an easy way to target down something on the bench. Earthen Vessel here will discard the Canceling Cologne, a similar play Isaiah made early in the game, getting rid of that useless card in favor of finding a couple of energies to work with. It will be a Fire and a Grass as the choice. Of course, does need a Fire energy on the Regidrago V-Star in order to use that Apex Dragon attack to copy the attack of any Dragon-type Pokemon in the discard pile.
There's only 2 Dragon-type Pokemon right now, Chip, that Yoshiyuki has access to. Giratina V-Star's Lost Impact, or Regidrago V's Dragon Laser, which is, of course, not enough to really threaten anything impactful, so Yoshiyuki might be forced to use Lost Impact. At that point, you might as well target down the 2-energy Ogerpon. I think that's the best target for him. Can't go after the Mew with a powerful Phantom Dive or something along those lines. I think we're going to see this particular Ogerpon get targeted, as it's the most impactful resource that Isaiah has right now.
Yeah, definitely a little unfortunate for Yoshiyuki, unable to find a way to get that powerful Dragapult EX into the discard pile. Down both copies of Boss's Orders at this point. He is only playing 2 copies. That's actually something that is true for both of our players. 2 copies of Boss's Orders. It looks like Yoshiyuki will be using the Lost Impact. He's down quite a few energy cards. You can see those 3 stacked off to the side. in the discard pile, and now 2 will be sent to the Lost Zone.
You get the first knockout, you get the first 2 prizes. We've talked about how important that is. However, Isaiah can respond here with his own Giratina V-Star attack, which he just top-decked. And, I mean, he has access to Legacy Star. He has the advantage. He needs to find 1 energy switch, and he's good to go. Responds to Rage Drago V-Star, and even though he didn't take the first 2 prizes, there's no follow-up for Yoshiyuki. There's nothing on the bench.
Yeah, this would be massive for Isaiah Bradner to get this knockout. Now, Yoshiyuki does play the Thornton, so we'll have a way to theoretically pull off an attack with the Regidrago V-Star next turn, but it may be very difficult. This is a huge opportunity here for Isaiah Bradner. Does grab out a Grass Energy. We'll probably see that just attached to the Regidrago V with the Fire Energy. As you mentioned, only needing an Energy Switch and a Regidrago V-Star at this point to put himself in an excellent position. And you can see Yoshiyuki was able to get that first knockout, was able to jump ahead in the prize trade, but the amount of resources expended in order to pull that play off, was it worth it?
You have to wonder, Chip, indeed, because it came at a very hefty cost, right? You will not have any way to respond. Perhaps a Radiant Charizard play with the Prime Catcher combination if he's able to pull something like that off, but big research coming here for Isaiah.
There's the energy switch. Does he have a Regidrago V-Star? Ultra Ball can shore that up. Does find the Teal Mask Ogerpon as well. No energy cards to go with it at this time, but I think Isaiah will be more than happy. And honestly here, I don't know if he needs to use Legacy Star. I think he's got everything necessary to not have to utilize that, can save it for potentially later in the game. Now, maybe it does depend on what his board looks like. I think with this Fezandipity, he'll feel better about not using Legacy Star. Could have been a good opportunity to get things more set up, get more established. But since he's got Fezandipity, I think he'll be fine to just go with the Apex Dragon here.
Isaiah's board just looking overall much better than Yoshiyuki's. Does have a lot of energy in the discard pile, but did find both Super Odds, I believe. So just gonna finish drawing all his cards, which is something very important to do. Finish drawing your cards. Once you have all your options in your hand, then go ahead and finalize your play. Sometimes you'll play cards like Earthen Vessel or the Ultra Ball to help you thin, but Isaiah, I'm sure he's figured all of this sequencing out so far, trying to get the best possible discards for the Ultra Ball, and we'll be able to take down the Regidrago. Now, it will come at a hefty cost of lost zoning 2 other energies, and there's no Ogerpon in play. So even though he eliminates Yoshiyuki's only threat, it's gonna also be difficult for Isaiah to respond if he gets Ionode, and there's no Ogerpon in play as a follow-up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be costly here to get this set up. He does have to discard the Earthen Vessel and Super Rod, a pretty good 1-2 combo right there. Super Rod some energies back, Earthen Vessel to pull them right back out. Just debating what this last card to discard is going to be here. He's an extremely careful player. He's probably thinking through all the possible scenarios, you know, looking into 4 million futures, and is going to find the one that leads to him finding the victory. Regidrago V-Star being the grab.
Regidrago V-Star hitting the field. I can't see anything other than the Lost Impact in the near future, right?
And it's just got to be the best play.
Yeah, and this is where you have to wonder, like at this stage, with top 8 possibly on the line for both players, as Yoshiyuki, do you think he's considering maybe conceding at this point in time?
Yeah, I think it definitely should be a consideration. We'll see if that's something Yoshiyuki has. I think that if your hand is strong enough to maybe respond to this with, you know, a decent hit with the Ogerpon potentially, or, you know, maybe the Thornton play to respond to Isaiah's Regidrago V-Star, you could consider it. But I don't see any Thornton plays lined up at the moment.
Thornton would be the best option, Chip, but there's access to energies. There's a superior energy tree. Well, we could see it off the top, right? Never discount those top decks. Like, championships are won or lost by top decks sometimes, as we see the Lost Impact and Isaiah tying up the prize count here.
4 prizes apiece remaining for both of these players. Yoshiyuki's only Regidrago V-Star goes down, forced to send up this Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. The draw for turn, let's see what Yoshiyuki can pull off. There is the Mew EX. If he can thin his hand down, that could be a few more cards drawn with that restart ability, but I don't know that that's possible with the hand that is available. Going to kick it off with the Teal Dance, drawing 1 card after attaching Regidrago V-Star. Would be nice if Thornton was available. Does still have Fezandipity's Flip the Script to go for.
True.
Is this the play worth digging for?
I would reckon it is, right? I mean, there can't be too many cards left in the deck at this point in time. So I fancy my chances. If not, you play defensively, you Iono your opponent. You're not taking a knockout, so Flip the Script will not be activated for them. They will get a
Here
solid
we
4
go.
cards.
3 cards. Is there the Thornton? I don't
No.
see it. No Thornton. And honestly, he would have needed a little bit more as well. There are 2 fire energies in the discard pile at the moment. Yoshiyuki is actually only playing 2 fire energy in his list. Needs to find the superior energy retrieval to pull it off.
I think it's already in hand, so it actually would have been possible. All these gold cards are sometimes a little difficult to tell, but I'm fairly sure. Yeah, next to the Prime Catcher, right here. So could have been possible. Probably what he went for. Now he's just going to establish perhaps a backup Regidrago, discarding the second Regidrago V-Star, valuing all the other cards in his hand. Not necessarily eyeing up. All right, so I think...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we could see a knockout steal with that Radiant Charizard this turn.
Yeah, the Radiant Charizard definitely possible to pull off here. And this is actually interesting because Yoshiyuki could theoretically close out this game with just Radiant Charizard, right? It may be difficult with 2 bosses' orders being down. He's not going to be able to get through Regidrago V-Star. We know the Prime Catcher is in hand, so with a Fire Energy attachment, with Energy Switch, you know, we can see this play pulled off this turn. We could see him Thornton in a future turn, but with no boss's orders, you can't, of course, boss plus you can't boss plus Thornton, of course, so it does make things a little difficult. He would have need to boss this turn, I think.
He is holding the Palpat to potentially replenish those 2 boss's orders, however, so could see that. We do see the Prime Catcher. I feel like knocking out the Ogerpon here would have been a lot more impactful, if you will.
Or Pheasantipity, maybe.
Or Pheasantipity. Likely the Ogerpon to take down the potential energy, because that's how he could potentially get the backup or the Regidrago powered up again, right? Definitely different options. Maybe he just doesn't care and it's all about taking 2/2 prizes. We could see enough energy on the Ogerpon to take down the Mew EX, right, with a follow-up boss play. So, I mean...
Here's one other interesting thing, I think, Pablo, that we have not yet considered, and that is that Yoshiyuki could even attack with Mew into Regidrago V-Star. Could use that genome hacking in order to copy Apex Dragon, which would still allow Yoshiyuki to have access to Lost Impact to close out the game. So this honestly is something that Yoshiyuki could pull off here, and a big part of it is going to be the 2-prize knockout this turn. Can he piece together the knockout in a future turn, enough energy switches? You know, I just don't know if there's enough resources left to make that happen.
Did hit that energy switch that is needed to attack with Radiant Charizard this turn, so we'll keep up with the price trade. His setup is looking a little bare bones, but if you can somehow recover the Radiant Charizard and get that into play again with another boss's orders, you could see him pull this off. We get the knockout. That Squawk ability not so useful anymore at this point in time. But Yoshiyuki ahead, and if Isaiah cannot piece a 2-prize knockout, right, that could give Yoshiyuki a breather of a turn and give him 2 turns to close this out.
What an excellent back and forth game from both of these players. You know, Isaiah having a little bit of a slow start, not getting the Regidrago, still finding a pretty favorable board position, but Yoshiyuki piecing together the knockout to follow up his Regidrago going down. This is going to be extremely close, and a big part of it is going to come down to what does Isaiah have off of the Iono here. 4 cards to work with, plus the draw for turn, has access to restart, has access to flip the script. We could see tons of new cards drawn this turn, and he hasn't expended nearly as many resources as Yoshiyuki, so we'll see what ends up coming of it. Teal Dance will be used initially, drawing 1 card, attaching an energy into play. How many energy switch does Isaiah have left? Of course, he does still have access to that Legacy Star V-Star power. Has not flipped the V-Star marker just yet.
Should be able to piece out a 2-prize knockout. However, if you do, what happens? The Radiant Charizard remains available, right? And then Yoshiyuki all of a sudden needs the boss's orders to win the game. So Isaiah against the wall here. This very back and forth game that you mentioned, Chip. It's going to be interesting to see how Isaiah approaches this situation. Aggressively against the 2-prizer or conservatively against the single prizer that is the only threat currently on Yoshiyuki's board.
Now, did Yoshiyuki play the POW pad last
He did.
turn?
He
Okay,
did.
so there are boss's orders available
are,
in the
yes.
deck. So Isaiah knows 2 boss's orders are pretty likely to be found for Yoshiyuki on the next turn. So I almost think Isaiah has to knock out this Radiant Charizard.
Or you Iono and risk, right? Because the Radiant well, it would be able to attack next turn. So yeah, do you risk Yoshiyuki having the boss? Do you play conservatively and play to winning over the course of 2 turns, which gives Yoshiyuki time to find the Super Rod and also has Mew EX and Serendipity on the bench? That's a lot of extra cards. Even if you Iono your opponent to 2 cards, right? That's a potential 6 extra cards to work with when the deck is getting very, very low at this point.
Yeah, Yoshiyuki has found himself, I think, in a favorable position here, but Isaiah Bradner is going to find any line he can and play towards it. What is more likely, that Yoshiyuki would not be able to find the boss's orders off of an Iono, or that Yoshiyuki would not be able to establish another attacker. And Yoshiyuki is down a lot of resources. I have to wonder, if this Charizard goes down, is Yoshiyuki even able to establish another attacker? How many energy switch has he expended, right? These are the things that Isaiah is keeping track of and thinking about when making this decision here. It doesn't matter if it takes you 2 turns to win if your opponent isn't able to set up an attacker in those 2 turns.
Yeah, and realistically at this point, the only real attacker is going to be that Radiant Charizard. And Isaiah doesn't know if Yoshiyuki has a way to recover it after he knocks it out, right? And that's also part of the risk.
And I think Isaiah knows he has to make an action here. You know, he's taken a long time on this decision.
Yep.
Really needs to make a play, and it will be the Ultra Ball discarding that that Dragapult EX and a Nest Ball going to the discard pile. Searching for any Pokemon. It will be the Kyurem, just thinning here at this point.
I'm sad we haven't seen like a big Kyurem play taking a bunch of prizes. It's
yeah.
not going to happen here for sure. That Triforce attack, incredibly powerful, just not the usefulness in the mirror match. Very useful in other different matchups, but thinning, very important. We saw Isaiah counting out his deck, really figuring out if he can research. Now he's getting close to the bottom and hasn't Legacy V-starred yet, so.
He does still have a Super Rod available. He actually is playing 2 copies of Super Rod, so we know that he'll be able to replenish the deck, and of course he can always grab one back with that Legacy Star. And it will be the research. Did have the choice of Iono, so it does seem like he is committing to, hey, I've got to knock out this Radiant Charizard and just hope my opponent is going to have a hard time setting up another attacker.
This game could come down to Yoshiyuki finding that 1 copy of Super Rod, and that's where Restart and Flip the Script are going to help and get him to that point. But he will have 2 turns to accomplish that, and that's going to be pretty major.
Still has a decent-sized hand to work with, has the Mew, has the Flip the Script Serendipity, has Teal Dance even to draw 1 additional card. Like you said, he does not have to do that this turn. You can see why Radiant Charizard is such an important card in these usually 2 prize heavy decks. You know, in regular Charizard EX, we see Radiant Charizard be a huge player. It's the same as well for Regidrago V-Star.
Have you seen any other Radiant Pokemon be utilized in Regidrago, Chip?
In some online tournaments, we saw some Radiant Gardevoir, I think, pop up here and there for the mirror match, but it just seems like Radiant Charizard is far and away the better option. Oh, we are going to see a Trifrost here, though, discarding the 3 energy in order to damage all of these Pokemon. This is pretty interesting here, and this opens up Yoshiyuki to being able to win this turn. If he has Thornton and a Regidrago V-Star, he could win the game right now.
By not taking a prize card, Serendipity's Flip the Script is actually not going to be active at this point in time. We're having some discussion here. Now, I do like this play from Isaiah, honestly. It's pretty next level. You have your V-Star ready to go next turn to potentially recover double energy switch. You will need access to another Ogerpon on the bench in order to Teal Dance twice, transfer energy to the active, attach for a turn and whatnot. Now we are having some discussion, but Isaiah setting himself up perfectly to take a 5 prize turn next turn. We'll see after this gets resolved what ends up happening here. Limiting Yoshiyuki's hand this turn, pretty important, not activating that Flip the Script. So many things. I gotta give props to Isaiah for that Kyurem play. That was really next level.
Yeah, and those are the type of plays that separate good players from great players right there. Isaiah recognizing, based on his opponent's resources, it is unlikely But I do have to say, if Isaiah knew that Yoshiyuki had Thornton, I wonder if he would go for this play. And that may be a factor here. Isaiah not aware of that card that's not very commonly played in Regidrago. It does come up, but it's probably like, 10, 15% of players using that card.
And that's something that's really important at the World Championships or any tournament, really, right? Like, we haven't, Shattered Fable just came out this weekend. We haven't had any sort of successful Regidrago V-Star list, which a lot of players will take a look at and be like, okay, this went through 16 rounds at the World Championships. This is the tried and tested list that I can expect from people at this point in time. So the Thornton tech is something that people are aware of, but it's not the standard, right? And you can make educated guesses on what your opponent might have. You can play around a lot of things, but you can't play around absolutely everything most of the time.
Yeah, and Isaiah may see things like, the Iron Leaves EX being included in the mix and be like, okay, if my opponent's playing Iron Leaves, are they really also playing Thornton? And Yoshiyuki's found a way to make it work. Now, I do think we're having a discussion at the table. I believe a warning was issued to Isaiah for pace of play, and that discussion is taking place now. I believe an appeal was chosen to be had, which of course is the player's right. And so head judge at the table now discussing things. I believe a translator out there as well, making sure Yoshiyuki understands everything that's happening at the table as well.
We are at the World Championships. So many languages being spoken here. We have players from all regions all over the world, and it's what makes this tournament really magical. I mean, internationals also have so many, right? But this is the culmination of everyone's hard work.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's nothing like the World Championships, and probably never will be. So, it's such a joy to be a part of it and get to experience so many different cultures from all over the world coming together in one place, and all for one shared passion, the Pokemon trading card game in our case.
The World Championship started 20 years ago to the day almost, and that's a long time.
Quite a long time, yeah. You've been to many of the World Championships over the years. You told us yesterday your first World Championships was that one back in 2004. While we're waiting for this ruling, do you have any, insight into, what has changed over the years? Do you remember that first World Championships in 2004 and how that compares to what the venue looks like today?
Oh, like I'm sure there's more people behind the scenes right now than there were actual players at the tournament. Perhaps like it was tiny. We were like in the basement of a hotel, a fantastic venue, but it was definitely a quarter the size of where we're at right now. But just as magical, Chip, just as magical. And for me, like the first time encountering all these players whom I had never met in person before, they were just usernames behind a screen at that point. So meeting people like Karl Sukovic for the first time, that was really cool. And many other players who are playing today. Not too many left, but yeah, very cool.
All right, we're having a head judge on the stage in order to hear both sides of the story, hear from the judges, hear from the players, and ultimately make the final decision. The head judge's decision is ultimately final here, and it was just a warning, I believe, that was issued, which is a penalty, but it's not a penalty that yields, a double prize penalty, something like that. So you might wonder, like, okay, it's just a warning. Why would you want to appeal that? And it's because it can have an impact on future rounds, correct?
It can carry over, or it does carry over one round to the next. We don't know if Isaiah has already had any sort of warnings beforehand, but if this is a recurrent thing that happens to you, it will lead to harsher penalties despite the action not warranting such a thing.
Right, so Isaiah not believing that it's warranted, appeals to the head judge, and we're going to have that discussion here. Head judge's decision will ultimately be final. And I do think Isaiah, he was being very careful, right? I think is a way for us to say it, right? He was being very, very careful. It was a tough spot, and he did find a super unique line of play. You don't find those lines of play without thinking about it, right? And
thinking through,
thinking does take time.
I wholeheartedly agree, and this play 100% next level. We were talking about the Kyurem getting thinned out of the deck. That was actually his main plan towards the end. But as you're evaluating all your options, right, going through every scenario possible, maximizing your win condition, this is how Isaiah can potentially win next turn and give Yoshiyuki the most trouble in terms of finding the right resources to close this one out.
It's going to be extremely close. Yoshiyuki could just win this turn, like we said.
Well, yeah,
has the option of the Thornton if he has drawn into it, but will not be able to dig super deep for it because Isaiah did not take a knockout. Flip the script, not active. Yes, such an insane next level play. A perfect way to describe it, for sure. Head judge, speaking to both the players here.
A big enough hand too, right, to potentially deny the restart, so you're not giving any sort of help to your opponent. And this is what we were mentioning about, like, even if you Iono your opponent down to 2 cards, when they have Mew and Pheasantipity, they're going to end the turn with like a 6-7, or they're going to start the turn with a 6 or 7 card hand of fresh resources, right? So Iono definitely less impactful overall because of Pheasantipity X. And I think you and I predicted that that would potentially hurt Gardevoir's chances of success. It does rely on Iono quite a lot to make those sort of comebacks, but I don't know, Gardevoir's still doing pretty good so far.
Yeah, it is definitely doing well, and it's because Gardevoir can use Iono and not take a knockout, right? They can Iono you too low and set up some damage in play and take knockouts with Monkey Dory on the next turn to make sure that Pheasantipity is not active.
We are seeing the conversation continue to happen. Perhaps the appeal has to do with the fact that even though it's just a warning, it could end up leading to something else.
I think that's what it's got to be. You know, Isaiah he's thinking ahead, right? You know, there's more rounds, 3 more Swiss rounds of this tournament to play. You know, he's got his eyes on Top Cut for sure. He's thinking ahead. You know, if I have this warning now and then I'm playing in Top Cut later on today and I get a warning, that's all of a sudden going to be escalated to a double prize penalty, even if it's just a pace of play warning, not, you know, anything else. So, I mean, it totally makes sense from his point of view, and it is, I think, a little bit more difficult here to communicate because we're dealing with the translator, dealing with Yoshiyuki, the language barrier here, but, we've got a great team of people on it, making sure things are very communicated extremely clearly. You know, our translators are well-versed in the game, so they know how to communicate gameplay things to our players as well.
We're also playing at the World Championships, right? So players are definitely held to the highest standard possible in terms of pace of play, sportsmanship, right? Everything. So it is very important to be at the level of the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, one other thing with this play I guess we can mention while we're talking about it, you always mention, asking the most of your opponents, right? Taking a knockout on their attacker as opposed to going for a boss's orders KO on a support Pokemon on the bench. I think Isaiah has done this because he has determined this is the way that he has to ask the most of his opponent, right?
He's asking his opponent, do you play Thornton, right?
Yeah.
That's the first
Pretty
question.
much, that's the first question.
The next question is, all right, if you don't play Thornton, do you have a way to switch out the Radiant Charizard, which most Regidrago V-Star decks do play a copy of Switch. I do believe the Prime Catcher has been exhausted, right? So Isaiah knows that is not accessible anymore. And can you find a switching card and one of the boss's orders that you just put into your deck that are in there, right? Isaiah did not play Iono to help him get closer to those cards. And can you find both of those without flip the script and with a big enough hand to where you might not be able to use Mew EX? That's a lot of questions that Yoshiyuki needs to answer.
It definitely is. And, there is a chance that we're going through this whole debacle here at this point, and then Yoshiyuki just, has Thornton Ultra Ball in order to set things up. I guess another question would be how many Regidrago V-Star are left in the deck. I do believe 2 are in the discard pile, so he should still have 1 available. Yeah, just 2 in the discard pile, it looks like.
Yeah, 2 in the discard pile. Wish we could see their hands whilst we're talking to see the potential possibilities here. Like, once again, gotta give props to this play by Isaiah. Really, really high level. There's a reason why he's 7-1-1 here at the World Championships. And, I mean, then he's asking the question to himself, can I pull off a double Ogre Pond, double Energy Switch play into the active to potentially do the Cure and play once again? And if he went for the Cure and play this turn, it's likely he's confident that he can pull it off. Why? Because he still has his Legacy V-Star ability available. That's the key here. Getting 2 guaranteed resources back into your hand is so, so huge.
Yeah. It looks like, head judge is kind of making the call here. We'll get word exactly what the final ruling is. Isaiah, it seems like he's being, very respectful and understanding of the situation. Yoshiyuki just forced to kind of sit idly by and wait for the result ultimately. It looks like our final call is being made. We'll get word shortly.
That Charmander, maybe a little bit of foreshadowing that Radiant Charizard closing out the game for either player. I mean, that's also another option that Isaiah has, right? Doesn't need to repower up. Oh no, he does. He needs to take 4 prizes. Never
Yes,
mind.
yes.
It has to be Kyurem. It
Has
has
to
to
be
be
Kyurem
back-to-back Kyurem attacks.
But and, you know, he's planned it out, right? He's got the Legacy Star. He knows exactly what's left in his deck as well. Maybe what he drew into. If he drew an energy card or an energy switch, he knows he'll be able to achieve the play he needs.
The biggest resource that Isaiah might be missing is the second Ogre Pawn. I think that could be the hardest card to get here, because if he Legacy Stars, he can't get back both energy switches and the Ogre Pawn, so he needs... And he's not playing Superior Energy Retrieval either, Chip, so maybe getting 3 energies and the double Ogre Pawn and the 2 energy switches sounds much easier than it's actually could be done.
I didn't realize he actually has no superior in his deck. That happens sometimes whenever players make like aggressive calls, cutting normal cards from their deck. It kind of slips under the radar. We're so used to like, oh, every list has 1 or 2 superior energy retrieval. Actually, Isaiah having 0.
All right, so still having this discussion, trying to appeal. I wish we had some audio on what's going on. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, a nice little listen-in feature here might be nice. We can continue to go on about how great this play is from Isaiah as long as we want, but let's see what Yoshiyuki is able to achieve and put together.
Now, this game has been, of course, we'll adjust the time to ensure that we get the full 50 minutes of playtime. Looks like the game will be resuming now, as I see Yoshiyuki drawing his card, looking through his discard pile. So the game is resuming. We'll get word to you soon on what exactly happened. Yeah,
it does seem like it was held. That warning will stand. Isaiah Bradner receives a warning for pace of play. Now on to Yoshiyuki. Has the Regidrago V-Star in the hand, has Ultra Ball, has Superior Energy Retrieval. Okay, we could see quite a few cards thinned out here. Superior, of course, can get back up to 4 energy cards, so that can bring back 1 energy in order to draw with the Teal Dance. The one card he needs to win the game is Thornton. I'm surprised to not see the Teal Dance here.
He already used it.
Oh, did he? Okay,
yeah.
Really quickly at the start. Okay,
yeah, that was the first thing he did. The Thornton is available. It's a full art Thornton too.
On the bottom of the deck.
Now, he did keep the Regidrago in hand, so 2 cards off of restart. This Ogre Pawn gets banished. If he finds a Grass Energy, that could be an extra card as well. This could be epic, Chip. A Thornton play. How many Thorntons have we seen successfully be used to win such a high-stakes match?
It would probably be the highest-stakes Thornton play of all time. 1 single card to do it. How many cards are going to be drawn off of restart? Looks like it's 1, 2. Is there the Thornton?
I know, but we get one more.
One energy. Okay, 1 more shot.
1 more shot off of that upcoming Teal Dance, the Thornton play to switch out that.
Here we go. 1 card to draw. Is it the Thornton? A full art supporter, but it's the research.
No Iono either. So now the ball is on Isaiah's court. Gonna see.
Super Rod, it looks like, is going to be played here before the research.
Is there any universe where the Iron Leaves, the Prime Catcher is used,
The Prime Catcher has been used.
There's no Iron Bundle.
Can't use Research plus Boss's Orders in the same turn, so I don't think Yoshiyuki has a way to win this turn any longer.
Could damage the Regidrago, right, with the use of Iron Leaves, 180 damage, sets himself up very nicely to potentially win next turn, but now it's on Isaiah's side of the field. Does have access to the Iron Leaves, can thin out the deck, thin out the hand, but I feel like Yoshiyuki knows that the game is out of his grasp at this point. It comes down to Isaiah piecing out everything, which, if he planned for this, he must be confident he can pull it off.
Yeah, Isaiah very carefully managing his resources. Yoshiyuki, I think, is just going to be forced to go with that Iron Leaves. Hope to get the 2-hit KO in. Hope Isaiah just doesn't have it. It always feels bad to get to this point, and your final play is just hope your opponent doesn't have it.
That's what a lot of games come down to, right? At least it's not does my opponent have boss, which tends to be the way things go. But now it's a lot of cards that Isaiah needs to find. His deck is pretty thin. We are going to see that Iron Leaves absorb all these energy and hit for 180, set up Yoshiyuki for success next turn, but will it be a little too late, Chip?
Prism Edge deals 180 damage. Isaiah Bradner drawing for the turn. There is a Grass Energy. There's an energy switch already. I think he's going to have it here with the access to the Legacy Star. He's just got to be careful here and make sure he plays it out correctly.
Has an Ultra Ball as well to fetch that second Teal Mask Ogre Pawn EX. Now, we did get word that the warning for Isaiah did stand. It was not appealed successfully, so he knows what he needs to do, and hopefully he does it very soon now.
Yeah, if I was Isaiah and I just got a pace of play warning, I would not be taking this long to make a decision. I would, I would be flying. But, you know, he's thinking through. He doesn't want to mess it up. It is a pretty difficult thing to navigate, so he wants to make sure he does it exactly correctly.
So we need 1 fire, 2 grass, an extra Ogre Pawn, and 2 energy switches. That's 6 very specific cards. No knockout was taken by Yoshiyuki, so Flip the Script is not available. Restart is if Isaiah is able to thin the hand a decent amount. Let's see what's happening at the table here.
Yeah, it does look like Isaiah has used his V-Star power. Yeah, let's get the top-down view. Thank you. And Super Rod is going to replenish the deck here, put some cards back in. I think there is an Earthen Vessel more than likely to go get those energy cards. Ultra Ball gets that second Ogre Pawn. Those 2 energy cards, of course, back in the deck. He'll be able to draw into them in order to close things out. Does need to find. Does he have a guaranteed?
I think so. Teal Dance again, has the fire and has the double energy switch to copy Trifrost and take knockout on Mew EX and Vizantipity EX.
What a play. What a way for Isaiah to close this out. Double Trifrost, almost wiping the board for Yoshiyuki, taking 4 prize cards for Isaiah. I wonder there if at the end, Isaiah, did it come down to a 50-50 because his deck was a Grass Energy and a Fire Energy. He drew into the Grass Energy to get the second Teal Dance to draw the Fire Energy. Is that what he had to do? If he had drawn the Fire Energy, would he have been short?
I think, can you use Teal Dance if you have no cards in your deck?
Yeah, it does depend on the wording of the card, I think.
His 2 cards were that Fire and the Grass, right? So if he...
But if he had drawn the Fire, he wouldn't have even been able to use Teal Dance.
Right, no, see, if he draws the Fire, then he needs to Earthen Vessel for the Grass,
and then
he has no cards left in the deck. Can you Teal Dance with a 0-card deck? I'm going to guess the answer is no.
Well, it does depend on how the card is worded, and I think Isaiah maybe even asked the judges that. It looks like he was getting a question in there, and it did end up working out, of course. What a play, what a line from Isaiah Bradner. Never attacking with Dragapult. It's not something you'll see too often from a Regidrago V-Star player.
Incredible game we just saw, really back and forth. Prizes perhaps influencing a little bit with that Squawk ability, really limiting Yoshiyuki's start, and impressive play by Isaiah, recovering from a non-Regidrago V start in the Regidrago V Star mirror match. Really, really well done, and then perfectly accomplished at the end to Trifrost a second time this game to take 4 prize cards.
What a play from Isaiah, always exuding confidence on the big stage. It does look like the way that the ability of Teal Dance is worded, you are able to attach an energy even if you can't draw a card. It says once during your turn, you may attach a basic Grass Energy card from your hand to this Pokemon, period. If you attach an energy for the Pokemon in this way, draw a card. So it does allow it to work. As long as there was the Earthen Vessel in hand, Isaiah did make sure he had it guaranteed.
All right, so never hurts to be extra super safe, right? Make sure that it was a very convoluted-ish play. Now Yoshi gets to go first, has the Ultra Ball, has the Teal Dance, discarding a Research to start off. That's never a good sign for your opponent. You know, if they're discarding a Research, there's probably another one waiting in the hand, or at least a Squawk ability incoming.
With a pair of Ultra Balls going down, Should have plenty of things to get set up here on Yoshiyuki's side. Doesn't look like anything too impactful is prized. I guess 1 fire energy could be a problem since Yoshiyuki does only play 2 fire energy. 1 Ogre Pawn, not too big of a deal. The Kyurem, if Yoshiyuki wanted to try to go for the same play as Isaiah, is prized at the moment, but for now it will be the Squawk and Seize turn 1, discarding the hand to draw 6 cards, and Pheasantipity comes into play as well. Very, very nice.
No Regidrago in play just yet. Does find an S-Ball, does have plenty of energy, not too shabby. Very strong start here. But Isaiah probably starting with possibly the best Pokemon he could hope for. A single price Pokemon to try and mitigate the 2/2 price trade, as well as a Furry Treater, as well as Grasping Draw to draw extra cards. Now Yoshiyuki, very time aware, flying through his deck, flying through his actions, because he's a game behind, and that game 1 will, we have adjusted the timer for you, but it did take a long time. So getting 2 more games in 18 minutes could be a tough ask.
It definitely could be difficult. Yoshiyuki is playing pretty briskly, though. I think a veteran player of his stature recognizes the situation. It is always an interesting thing for the Japanese players to come over and compete in our tournament structure because it is different from what they play in, right? So many players, if they've never played in a world championship or international championship, don't know exactly how to navigate best of 3. Yoshiyuki is someone who is aware of how things need to go.
You were mentioning how tremendous their tournaments are. So many people, best of 1. They don't have that much best of 3 experience, and I'm sure as they're preparing for the World Championships, they must account for that, right? But playing a whole year under those rules versus just 1 tournament every year, that could have an impact. But Yoshiyuki very aware, flying through his deck, as we see Isaiah start with his turn.
And he will start things off by benching the Teal Mask Ogre Pawn EX, uses the Earthen Vessel, searching the deck for 2 basic energy, adding them to the hand, and go through the same song and dance that we've seen before, checking those Pokemon and energy, checking the prize cards very quickly. Looks like that Radiant Charizard is prized for Isaiah Bradner. That's definitely something that could come up. We saw it be a good play for Yoshiyuki in game number 1. Could be a good play for Yoshiyuki for Isaiah as well in the second game.
Kyurem not available for Yoshiyuki to make the play that happened last turn. Likely won't need it. It's going to be all about a lot of damage with Phantom Dive, perhaps lost impact KOs. Yoshiyuki's board already looking a little bit better than the previous game, and hopefully will be able to have a backup Regidrago this time around.
Now, one of the nice things about the Cleffa that Isaiah has started with is that it means he doesn't have to feel as pressured to put Squawkabilly EX into play in order to get extra cards to have access to for his next turn. He can play a supporter this turn, play his hand down, use Grasping Draw, and never have to use Squawk and Seize. And Squawkabilly can be such a liability because it is 1-hit KO'd by Phantom Dive and allows your opponent to set up damage on the bench.
Squawkabilly's attack is really powerful, but it is also a liability, as you mentioned. So with Cleffa, you're pretty well covered. By having it active, you ask your opponent to have a ghosting effect on top of setting up your Regidrago so you can take 2 prizes, because taking 1 prize, probably not very impactful.
We do see Teal Dance, attaches an energy, draws a card. Super Rod will put an energy back in, probably signaling a Professor's Research incoming after the Regidrago V has hit the bench. See if there's an energy to attach here, and is it indeed the Professor's Research as the supporter choice?
It is indeed the Super Art Impact. That energy usually signifies that sort of action. 7 fresh new cards. See what other resources you can set up. Ideally a backup Regidrago, right? Perhaps another Ogre Pawn with a couple energies, and then you Grasping Draw to replenish your hand and set yourself up for success next turn.
Now, something pretty interesting I will point out really quick is Isaiah had the Earthen Vessel in hand and the Super Rod, and he knew he was going to play Research, right? He chose to discard the energy to shuffle it back into the deck. He could have chosen to discard the Regidrago V-Star and shuffle it back into the deck. And that's what many players, I think, would choose to do because they have superior energy retrieval to get back their energies. They don't have as many ways to get back their Regidrago V-Stars. But Isaiah recognizes, I don't have superior energy retrieval, and energy are such an important resource. I'm going to prioritize putting those energy cards back in.
It's a very small adjustment, but a very crucial one. Another adjustment we're seeing just here, right? 1 energy off of Earthen Vessel. It's what you need potentially for next turn, a little bit of extra draw, or to draw with the other Teal Mask that he's holding in his hand. But it also means you don't have an energy in your hand stock, and therefore you maximize your draw with Grasping Draw this turn.
Nest Ball for Isaiah could bring down the Squawkabilly, but he doesn't really need it. He's got a pretty strong setup here, and I think this is a smart play to just prioritize another Regidrago V. A very solid setup, honestly, for both of our players. I'm excited to see how this game will play out.
Board looking very strong for Isaiah as well. He'll have that 7-card hand. Probably debating whether to play that energy switch or not. Does seem a little risky. You get access to it for Legacy Star next turn in case you get IO Node, so that can be important. But yeah, spreading your energy out, doesn't matter which. Oh, nice, the Squawk in hand. I missed that.
Yeah, and he is actually going to choose to go for it. You know, we were talking about how you can avoid putting Squawkabilly in play in this position with the Cleffa start. Why do you think he's chosen to still put it in?
Didn't feel confident of his current hand, just really wants to be the aggressor. I mean, there's value in just having a fresh new hand, right? Get closer to the Regidrago V-Star. Perhaps the early Regidrago V-Star discard made him try to dig a little bit deeper into the deck to make sure that he has the Regidrago V-Star next turn.
Back over to Yoshiyuki, Teal Dance for 1. Now another one coming up as well. Does find that Professor's Research and Ultra Ball can discard a couple of cards in order to get maybe another Regidrago into play. Perhaps Mew EX could make its way to the board. One of the things with Yoshiyuki's list is that he does probably feel a little bit more comfortable than many Regidrago players would feel by playing with a board of just one Regidrago V, since he does have access to a few different options, one being the Thornton, one being the Iron Leaves, you know, could even make the Mew EX an attacker, as we mentioned in this mirror match.
Both really powerful options, but also not easy to find, right? As we saw the previous game, you have the option, but finding it at the right time can sometimes be a little complicated. Not choosing to bench the backup Regidrago, going in with only one, once again this time around. Last game it felt like he just couldn't bench another Regidrago. This time he's purposely not benching another one. So, I mean, I do wonder what the reasoning is behind that choice.
We do see an energy switch was drawn. Looks like Earthen Vessel as well. Those nice new golden Earthen Vessel. Able to discard another Dragapult EX, searching the deck for 2 basic energy cards. We've already seen the Teal Dances come through, so now an attachment for turn can be had to the Regidrago energy switch, and we can see the guaranteed attack here. Now, attacking into the Cleffa is kind of awkward, right? It's a 1-prize Pokemon. He's not going to be able to go for that 2-2-2 prize line that we do talk about so often. He could dig for Prime Catcher with the Legacy Star. Do you think that would be ever worth it, Pablo?
I mean, likely, yes, but comes at a great cost. There's no way to guarantee it, though. That's the biggest issue for sure. We're going to see the Nest Ball. We're going to see a little bit more thinning. The Prime Catcher was at the almost very bottom of the deck, so he will give himself a chance. But as you mentioned, if you want to win this game, you need to make big plays. This could be a big play, but does come at a hefty cost. If you don't take this knockout, it's going to take you 3 more turns. Sorry, if you don't take this 2-price knockout, it's going to take you 3 more turns to actually close out the game, which with the timer running down could maybe not be possible to, like, I mean, you could finish this one, but you're definitely not winning the round, I would say.
I mean, there's an option of maybe, you know what would be kind of cool? A Pheasantipity EX Cruel Arrow dealing 100 damage to Squawkabilly. Maybe that could set up for some Phantom Dive math, right? 60 damage on it later on. Pheasantipity has a 210 HP, doesn't get knocked out super easily on Isaiah's end. It would be a pretty hefty investment. I don't think we're going to see it, but, you know, it could be a cool. I always like to look out for the cool play. Oh, we're seeing the Legacy Star. Is there Prime Catcher? No.
No hit on Prime Catcher. Does show the Thornton as well, which if Isaiah didn't know the game before, maybe he's looking at that, keeping his poker face on and being like, oh, wow. I dodged a big one last game. Now, this is really bad for Yoshi, though. No more Legacy Star. Cannot get 2 prizes this turn. 1 boss going away. Even if he had found the Prime Catcher, there was a risk of discarding other bosses, which means eventually dealing with the Radiant Charizard could also be a problem. So does get back that boss's orders, gets back, I believe it was a Superior Energy Retrieval. Now, with no Gudra, right, to potentially protect this Regidrago, the damage spread from Phantom Dive not as impactful overall. does choose to have that Radiant Charizard ready to go. Likely see a 3-3 spread. Yep, there we go. 3-3 spread on the Drago.
Not 6-6.
That would be.
As much as
imagine.
Yoshiyuki would love for it to be a
Imagine.
6-6 spread. Not quite. More than enough damage to take out that Cleffa as Phantom Dive places 6 damage counters on the bench, 3 on each of those Regidrago V.
Yoshi probably expecting Isaiah to come back and Lost Impact knockout this Regidrago, so trying to make sure that Radiant Charizard 250 damage is enough to knock out either Drago V-Star at this point in time. Isaiah had a very powerful start, so I don't see him not having a response at this time. And with the 2-2-2 price trade, Isaiah feels like he has a sort of advantage if he can pull this off without using Legacy Star.
Right, yeah, for sure. I think it's entirely possible because he's got Boss's Orders available in the deck still, Prime Catcher also still available. Now, his board isn't the most set up with the support Pokemon, right? He doesn't have space for both Pheasantipity and Mew, which might be a deterrent factor here. It will be Pheasantipity EX as the choice.
I really think Pheasantipity is so much better than Mew in most situations. In the lead up to the World Championships, it was blowing my mind that I had to convince people to run Pheasantipity X in their deck. To me, it's the best card from Shattered Fable, bar none, and it might be contender for best card in the format to me.
Yeah, it's become an extremely strong contender for that title, and it makes so much sense in these decks that already run Teal Mask Ogrepon because you're already going to have targets on your bench for your opponent to potentially chase down. That would be one of the arguments to not play Pheasantipity is like, oh, it's a 2-prize liability. You're already going to have a board full of 2-prize liabilities, so you might as well get the benefit from one of the strongest options in the format. Now, Flip the Script for Isaiah did draw 3 cards. He's piecing things together here. Looks like maybe cutting out cards for an Ultra Ball. Needs to find the Regidrago V-Star in order to get off this attack here. Yes, Ultra Ball is the option. There is already actually the Regidrago V-Star even in the hand. It looks like he's got some pretty strong cards, though, and that's why this decision is tough. Can he get rid of his Pokestop, his Fire Energy, his Energy Switch?
I think the big thing missing here for Isaiah is that Giratina V-Star. So he's trying to figure out the best discard for this Ultra Ball to get the Giratina, then use the other Ultra Ball to get the Giratina in the discard pile, but his hand has so many good cards that the extra card discarded for the Giratina is the one that's tough to figure out. Now, choosing Kyurem instead of Giratina is not priced, all right? So, I mean...
We're doing the same play?
Are we doing the same play?
Committing to 3 Trifrosts to just win the game, right?
I mean, it's not possible, right? You can't target the Ogrepon because of the Terra bench
It would have
protection.
to be targeting the active Regidrago.
Yeah, but then
That's
you can't do it twice, right?
It would have to be 3.
Drago, then, and pulling off 3 Kyurems in one game. Like, Isaiah's good, but I don't think he's triple Trifrost good.
Will be that Kyurem ultimately the choice. Second Ultra Ball going back in. Not before a Prime Catcher.
All right, that works.
Teal Mask.
That is how you can pull it off, right? With the Ogrepon being in the active, you can actually bypass the Terra protection. So this is one way in which Isaiah can win over the course of 2 turns with a double Trifrost.
This would be absolutely insane to just board wipe your opponent. Not quite a board wipe, but, 6 prize turn. And this is, yeah, I mean, it's setting up for Isaiah to potentially go for it. He is going to have to get rid of a few resources. He's going to be down a little bit more than he was in the last game by getting rid of energy switches and things like that. And actually here we even see Ultra Ball discarding a Regidrago V-Star and a Kyurem in order to get another Regidrago V-Star because this is what he has to do in order to get that Kyurem into the discard pile.
Amazing foresight here by Isaiah. And, I mean, I did not have double Trifrost as my way to win.
I mean, has Isaiah unlocked the strategy to win this mirror match?
I mean, most likely, I feel like Yoshiyuki could have potentially pulled it off as well himself, but whenever you have to exhaust your V-Star to get the first attack going, like this is only possible because Isaiah can recover enough resources off of Legacy Star to pull this off twice, right? Next turn will require a Boss's Order, so cannot rely on research to find extra resources, cannot rely on Iono. It has to be Boss into the same Ogrepon and then knock out both.
I honestly,
and Squawk as well.
Hold on. I don't even know if this is worth it, honestly, for Isaiah. I feel like he should have just... I mean, his opponent only took 1 prize card last turn, right? So just go for the 2-2-2 line. You may have to find Boss's Orders in a future turn. That could be the thing he's most worried about. But by going for this play, the Trifrost, it does open up a pretty nice He's not going for Trifrost?
No, sorry.
Yeah, so if he goes for this Trifrost play, it does open up an option for Yoshiyuki to Thornton and evolve into a Regidrago V-Star. Get rid of one of those 2 prized Pokemon and take it out of range so Isaiah cannot pull off this play he's trying to set up.
That is next level, Chip. You are so right. That could be something very important, but needs to get it back with the Pal Pad, right?
Right.
If it gets discarded, that's...
He does have that Pal Pad to do it, though. And he has, I guess, a turn to pull it off, right? So, I mean, this is Isaiah putting a clock on him, asking him to achieve quite a bit, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 3 minutes to go. What a game. I generally am impressed by this Trifrost play. It's going to be, I mean, there we have it, right? The first one coming in.
Wow. What a line here from Isaiah Bradner. Of course, cannot hit the Ogerpon on the bench thanks to that Terra attribute. Terra Pokemon are not able to be hit on the bench. And it looks like the Trifrost was utilized, discarding all of those energy cards. 110 damage to 3 Pokemon, and now over to Yoshiyuki's side.
You can see how powerful that Legacy Star getting back resources is, right? I feel like I've seen a lot of players utilize it and be disappointed at the resources they discard, but planning out your game to where it doesn't matter what you end up discarding, you know exactly what you need to close it out. This triple play, I mean, winning over the course of 2 turns, that's better than the 2-2-2, right? Just go 0-6.
yeah, it's just there is that opening for Yoshiyuki to respond and make this play not possible. And it does involve Isaiah, of course, finding a boss to get that Teal Mask Ogerpon back up into the active. We will see boss's orders from Yoshiyuki, bringing up that Regidrago with the energy card on it. And is this all he has? There is no Thornton play. He's just going to have to hope Isaiah doesn't have all of the pieces.
And by keeping the Regidrago V-Star, you eliminate 1 energy, but you're also leaving that guaranteed Legacy Star, right? I mean, maybe knocking out the active was a little too much on his resources, didn't feel confident to get a backup attack of a lost impact. This is the difficult question, right? Like, right now, Yoshiyuki's asking more in terms of energy from Isaiah, but he didn't ask him to have a Regidrago V-Star backup to this one. With 1 in the discard pile, 1 in play, maybe asking your opponent to see if you have a 3rd one could have been an alternate way to go.
I think he's got it here. He's got to have it in an Earthen Vessel for the fire energy. Access to Legacy Star that can get back the Prime Catcher. Just needs Prime Catcher plus 2 energy switch, and that is it. That is all Isaiah Bradner needs. Now, he maybe doesn't have it guaranteed just yet, but he can draw almost his entire deck here. He's got Mew EX, he's got Pheasantipity, he's got Research in the hand as well. And of course, you can use Prime Catcher and Research in the same turn. You can't boss in Research, but Prime Catcher is that option available to get back. So as long as there is an energy switch in the deck, Isaiah should have it.
Yeah, there's 2 energy switches, and off of Research plus Flip the Script, as you mentioned, Chip, I think it's almost impossible for him to whiff at this point in time.
Not even using the restarts for 1, just goes for the Research, has Flip the Script still.
There it is. There's the energy switch.
Yes, he's got it.
Oh, double energy switch. We don't... Yeah, sure, that works. Just needs 1 card off of Legacy Star.
Prime Catcher. Flips the V-Star marker. Trifrost taking 3 knockouts in 1 turn, 6 prizes for Isaiah Bradner, a 2-0 victory to move to 8-1 at the Pokemon TCG World Championships.
Impressive play by Isaiah. Fantastic foresight, fantastic planning. You have to imagine this is how he was planning to go about it all along, right? If you have your Legacy V-Star attack left over, you can pull this off. That definitely seems like the way to go in this mirror match.
Wow, what a play, what a line. Isaiah able to capitalize on the fact that his opponent benched those support Pokemon early in the game, right? And it's kind of what Yoshiyuki had to go for, had to go for the Squawk ability, benching the Pheasantipity before squawking it away, totally makes sense. I mean, you said it best, Pablo. Next level play from Isaiah Bradner. I have to wonder if he's been doing that to his Regidrago opponents all tournament long.
I mean, you have to imagine, right? It's such a powerful play. Of course, the Terra protection is there, right? And you can expect there to be 2 targets usually, but what a way to start this day 2, Chip. Things not looking super great for Yoshi in game one with the lone Regidrago. Isaiah responding immediately, eliminating his opponent's only real threat from play, leaving himself a little bare bones, but then able to do and recover from this Charizard knockout with a double Trifrost play, thanks to that Legacy Star ability.
What a line to find from Isaiah. I wonder how long he's been sitting on that. When did he learn this line? Was it like, a month ago and he's like sitting on, oh, Regidrago is just the best deck by far. Look at this line I can go for.
I mean, generally it could be, right? We're all focusing on how Kyurem deals.
It's the first
with,
time I've seen it,
It's also the first time I've seen it. You're focused so much on the canceling Cologne into Manaphy, into eliminating your opponent's Ralts and Kirlias, or Charmanders and Dreepies and Pidgeys, but how about a double Triforce to eliminate your opponent's bench sitters such as Visantipity and such as Squawkabilly? I mean, how do you even protect from this? You need some sort of bench healing, which requires a lot to get them out of range of the next Trifrost, or some way to increase their HP to have some protection. And no Regidrago V-Star is playing Bravery Charm pretty much, right?
No,
there's no shot. Why would you?
The Thornton play would have been the only line, right? And
play.
Yoshiyuki just was not able to pull it off, right? Thornton was already in the discard pile, wasn't able to find Palpat. It would have been a really difficult thing to piece